Hello and welcome to another video from Digital-Motorsports.com. Today we're going to be building the SimLab P1X chassis. It's one of our best selling rigs on the website. It's the one I use myself. We have one here behind me, and it's a fantastic piece of kit. It's really well thought out, it's super solid, and it's a great rig for pretty much anything, drift, race, rally, whatever you want to do. Instructions do actually come with the rig now, which is great, so printed instructions, but for those of you who don't like to read, you can watch this video instead. So we're going to do a quick how to put it together. It's really simple, so we're not going to go into like minute detail. The idea that this is a nice, quick and easy reference that you can follow as you're building yours. All you need, very little stuff you need. It's very well thought out. 2 Allen keys basically. I like to use an electric screwdriver just because it speeds the job up, and a set of bits. Need a knife to open the boxes, and that's pretty much it. If you're mounting seat rails and sliders and things like that, or the extra feet, you will need a couple of spanners and things like that, or even an adjustable spanner will do. But that's it, so let's get cracking. So you should have 3 boxes. You've got the big long main box, you've got a whatever wheel mount you've chosen. We've got the Fanatec Podium direct drive mount here, and then you've got your pedal deck box and all the mounting bits and pieces. So the first thing to do, open all the boxes, lay all the bits out, and make sure you've got everything you need. Right, let's have a quick run through of all the bits you're supposed to get in the kit. So we have these large longitudinal pieces. They're the main fore and aft sections. These pieces go underneath the seat, right at the back, and then one under the front of the seat. These sections here are what the seat mounts to. You put your sliding rails on top of that. Then you've got your base, your upright mounting plates, and these sections here are the main wheel deck upright. Then we've got, in this case, we've got the Fanatec Podium mount. So you've got the laser cut brackets there, then you've got your pieces of extrusion there, which are threaded in the ends, and we've got the mounting kit for them there. Then we've got the pedal deck laser cut sections, the pedal deck mounting kit, the extrusion for the pedal deck, and that's that. This piece here, or these pieces here, are for the shifter mount, or the handbrake mount on the side. And then you've got all your angle brackets, your corner brackets, and a huge big bag of nuts and bolts and plastic caps and bits and pieces. And that's pretty much it. Right, another thing I like to do as well is get all the nuts and bolts and brackets and put them into a box so that you've got them there handy, you can get them quickly enough. So next thing we've got to do is we're going to get the 2 main longitudinal pieces, and then the rear end and the seat section roughly in the right place. So the way you do that is you get your seat mounting sections and just pop that on top there, and you know then this one goes at the very end, and this one goes the same length as this piece. So that's roughly the position that you want them in, okay? And before we start bolting it all together, what I generally tend to do is slide all the captive nuts into the channel first where I need them. And they have the little ball bearing on the end of them, and you just slide them in. One top tip with these is that if you make a mistake, you put them in the wrong place or whatever, you can slide them in anywhere along the length of the channel. You don't have to slide them in from the end. So you go here, just pop it in, and you can just poke them in like that, a little bit fiddly. There you go, and it's in. So if you forget to put one in, don't worry, you don't have to take everything apart as I did the first time that I built one. You can just slide it in wherever you want, or pop it in. We're going to start sliding in the captive nuts now. There's 2 sizes, there's an M8 and there's an M6. Make sure you're using the larger, the M8 for all the sections here. So what we're going to do is get your angle brackets to go in the corners here. So you've got in every corner, so there, and there, you need 2. So one on the top, one on the bottom channel. So it's captive nut in here, 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 here. So one on each side, basically. Now you've got all these 4 or 8 rather angle brackets in, and you have these this system in the right place, then get them all tightened up. You shouldn't have to move those again, and you can pop on the corner brackets now while it's easy to get at them. So these little ones here, and they have these 2 little tabs, and you just pop them in like that, and you'll need like a hammer or something like that. Just bash them in. And there you go, they just fit nice and snugly, and it's easy to do it now rather than later, because it's hard to get at the lower ones once you have everything all bolted into place. Next job is to mount the seat mounting sections, and as a guide I like to have this section just right on the end of the angle bracket there. That tends to be more or less the right position, and I put the angle brackets on the inside so you can't see them. And what you'll want to do here is, you'll see on the bottom of these angle brackets they have these little tabs. Where we're going in this orientation, what you want to do is break these 2 tabs off here so that the bracket sits flush with the profile. And to do that, you simply pop a flathead screwdriver in there and just angle up, and again 2 little tabs have come off, and that now will sit nice and flush onto the profile. So again, larger of the 2 captive nuts, pop them in, then some in here. Oh, that one's missing its thing. Alright, next job is going to be to assemble the pedal tray. So we're going to get this chassis out of the way so we've got a bit of space to work with. Now, pedal tray, you can see on the, sometimes you get this on the profile, you get a bit of oil from where they were cut. So get a microfiber and a bit of detergent or something to clean that off. So these go together really simply. Basically, the end of both of these sections have threads in them. Just show you quickly. You can see that. Threads in there, both ends, on both sections. And what they do is they go on the inside of these pieces. So you have countersunk holes here. They go on the outside, obviously enough. Your countersunk bolts to fit nicely inside. You can see that, so they go nice and flushly, is that even a word? Nice and flush there. So, and these are in the exact right position for these. So the larger profile piece lines up with these 2 holes here. So basically you've got to bolt that on there, like that. And then this piece is the piece that moves and you can slide, and that goes in. You've got 2 threaded holes in the profile that go down there. So this can then slide anywhere along. So if you're using sprint pedals, for example, you generally would mount them to this, and then this is your heel rest, and you can move this wherever you want it to be. So you can mount all kinds of pedals to these directly in through the channel, or you can get the either the Husingveld mounting plates, or similarly their own mounting plates, and even sliders for pedals as well. So basically bolt these up straightforward, do both sides, and then we can mount that to the rest of the rig. So this is actually the black countersunk bolts are actually a 5mm Allen key, so that's first time you're using your smaller Allen key head. Alright, so we have pedal plate assembled. Got the rig on its side here now, so this is the bottom of the rig, and the correct, well, it's not really a correct, but the way that it's intended for this to go is in this orientation. I've seen quite a few people mount this way around as well, and if you're shorter and you need the pedals closer to you, then that's a good way to mount them. But for the majority of people, this way round is the way that they would mount them. Now, just be careful when you put these in. Unless you are careful, you're going to you run the risk of just kind of scratching the aluminium. So just be very careful. You want to get them somewhere near to the position that you'd like them to be in their final place. So I don't put them in right at the end, then slide them all the way down, because you're going to scratch all the way down here. Then so you want them in the middle somewhere. Put them roughly in somewhere at the middle, and you can only move them in a small amount then. Another thing to point out is you don't have to use all of these mounting holes here. So they're there for to allow all kinds of adjustment. You can just make it here and here kind of thing. And the idea is that these then you'd use one, or whichever one is available, to kind of lock them in position. So if you mount here and here in these channels, this allows you to slide the pedal deck up and down and fore and aft, and change the angles and all that kind of stuff. And then you use one of these holes, or however many you have available to you, if they do line up, to really clamp it down and lock it so it doesn't move. So what I generally do, as a rule of thumb, is one set of the larger, again the M8 channel nuts, captured nuts in the top rail, one in the bottom. Alright, so once we've got our captured nuts roughly lined up, somewhere where we want them, put in your longer, these are the M8 by 25mm black bolts. They should, in my opinion, be fitted with a washer, but if you put the washer on, you haven't got enough thread, so you have to really leave the washer off, or else get yourself some longer ones, get some M8 by 30s, because they really kind of do pinch the aluminium and they mark it. So I just do them up loosely to start with, and until you find the position that you want them to be in. Now, the last thing to do while the rig's upside down is mount whatever feet you're putting onto it. So on this one, we're not using the additional feet, which are a really good job, by the way. We're just using the standard little rubber feet. They use the smaller M6 bolts and the M6 captive nuts, so 4 of each, 1 in each corner. Alright, our next job is to mount these uprights. These are for the wheel deck, and to do that we use these sandwich plates, these mounting plates here. Again, like the pedal deck, you want to try and get it roughly somewhere in the kind of area that is going to stay, because if you have to move it too much, you run the risk of scratching the rig. So what I always do is take one of the uprights, line it up with the back of the rig so that it's flush there, and then if you take the other one, this wants to be more or less in the middle, so center line here with the end of that, so there, roughly there, again, give or take, because this all depends on what wheel you're using, what pedals, how tall you are, all that kind of stuff, what seat you're using. So it's all relatively loose, but if you go with something along those measurements, you won't be far wrong. So before we mount this section to the main chassis, we've got to bolt the plate onto the upright. So again, we're using the M8 countersunk bolts and the larger M8 captive nuts. So you need 4 in here, and that's what we're going to do next. Another thing to be aware of, there are 2 sizes of the countersunk bolts. So for this particular job, we want the shorter of the 2. Otherwise, if you use the long one, they bottom out before they tighten up, and then your wheel deck mount is going to wobble. So use the shorter. You need 4 for each side. And I left a bolt in there just so I know where the centre line was that I measured. So we need another 4 of the M8 in here. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and again you're using the shorter of the 2 countersunk bolts. Right, that went pretty smoothly. In fact, that's about as smooth as it's ever gone for me mounting those things. So yeah, tighten those up. Again, wait until you've got it in the position you know you want it to be in, but that's pretty much where you want it to be. And once you have that in the right place, make sure that's good and tight, because you don't want that moving around at all. Now we're going to do the exact same on the other side. So we flip the whole rig round and repeat the process. Well, the top tip for you, when you're mounting these plates, push the top 2 captive nuts further away than you think, because it's much easier, well, it's almost impossible to do this the other way around, if you bolt these 2 on and then and these 2 are buried under here, you can't get them out. So push them right down, and then you and bolt these guys in, and then you can slide those in up and under using, you know, something pointy, an Allen key or whatever, like that. Alright, so next job is the wheel deck mount. So this is the Fanatec Podium direct drive mount, as I mentioned. Rig's coming along nicely now. You can see it's starting to take shape. And we're only in this video going to just pretty much mount this up, and then that's us more or less done, because this particular rig is for a customer who is going to go off and do his own seat, wheel, pedal install for a customer of his own. So which is perfect for the purposes of how you build the actual rig. All the peripheral stuff varies hugely depending on what you're mounting to it. So that's good. So now, with the podium mount, you've got 2 pieces of profile, which, like the pedal deck mount, are drilled in the ends here, and they coincide with the countersunk holes on these brackets. So basically what happens is you've got one of these brackets on this end and one of these brackets on this end, and it's very confusing which way around these go, and I always have to refer to my own one. So before we get to that stage, I'll check it out on my rig and we'll get it right. Okay, so the way this mounts, you have a small bracket and a large bracket. The small bracket is the wheel side, if you like. So that's the piece that attaches onto the Fanatec podium. So the small hole goes at the top. That's where it pivots, and then this allows kind of tilt adjustment on the wheel itself. The larger bracket goes on the upright side, and it goes in that orientation. So countersunk holes again bolt to the profile, and then the laser cut bracket onto the upright profile there. So you've got up and down movement, you've got tilt, you've got backwards and forwards. So all kinds of adjustment there. So the podium mounting kit comes with its own bag of nuts and bolts, and all the right kits you need are in that. So you're using the short M8 countersunk bolts again to bolt these in. Again, get these nice and tight because you get a fair bit of vibration coming through the wheel, and they can have a tendency to come loose over time. And what you'll find is that these bolts might end up being behind this piece of profile and you can't get at them. So if they do come loose and this joint starts wobbling around here, it'll be a pain in the backside if you've got to take everything apart. So make sure they're done up quite tightly. So that's how it should look when all done and dusted. So again, the other side is just a repeat of that. Okay, now it's simply a case of 4 of the large M8 captive nuts into these uprights, so 2 on each side. And where you want them, again, try and get it somewhere halfway close so you don't risk scratching anything too badly. And then you're using the M8 cap head bolts with a washer this time, because basically, I don't know why they don't supply you with washers for the or longer, slightly longer bolts for the pedal deck, but anyway, I'm sure they will in time. If you have a washer here, I don't see why you shouldn't have a washer there, but anyway. So yeah, bolt and washer in there, and again, it can be a little bit fiddly with just one person, but not too bad. What way you do this doesn't really matter, whether you have the upper one in the front or the back. It doesn't matter. You can put 4 in here if you want. I think, are there enough? There are enough to put 4 in. I never have done. I haven't needed to. 2 is more than enough. But yeah, you can use 4. You can use, you can put them in the middle as well if you wanted to, and you can do that afterwards, or you can push them down with something kind of long there. So. What I tend to do, just as a baseline start kind of position, I mount the top edge of this bracket here, roughly in line with the top of the aluminium profile, and then you've got 2 of them at least roughly in the same position. We're just going to tweak that up so that it doesn't move. Miraculously in the right place. Now just that ever so slightly, just by eye. You can do all this by tape measure if you want. There's no point doing that until you've been in the rig and you've driven it for a little while, got it somewhere near what feels right for your height and the type of driving that you do. Then you want to start adjusting it and tweaking it and maybe measuring and making sure everything's even and all that kind of stuff. Right, so that's pretty much it. The only other thing really is all the end caps and little trim pieces, but you don't need us to show you how to do that in a video. Obviously all the tightening and final positioning and final tweaks are still to be done, but that's very much dependent on you, your gear, and what positions you want to put things into. So yeah, that's the basics of it. It's nice and simple. It goes together really well. It's like a big Meccano set for grown-ups. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below, or do get in touch. We'd be happy to help. And yeah, happy building, and we will see you in the next video.
Are you looking to get involved in simulator racing? Here at Digital-Motorsports.com, we're a one-stop shop for all your sim racing needs, supplying wheels, pedals, shifters, handbrakes, monitors, virtual reality headsets, seats, chassis, fully built sim solutions and custom built PCs from all the top brands that you know and love. To find out more, visit Digital-Motorsports.com.